This is crazy. I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. Oh my God. Okay. Let's do it. Let's finally talk about the thing that changed my life. Oh, I gotta take you back to bring you forward. I would also like to say I had Depo, the shot, from the time I was 14 until I was 23. So there's that. I'm 32 today. Hey. Anywho, so keep that in mind. So I wrote down notes so that way I could stay on track, because a girl will take a tangent. Okay, so let's start. January 2014. I am experiencing the most excruciating pain at that time in my lower right quadrant. I'm going to the doctor. No one knows. I had one doctor tell me that maybe I had a fibroid or a cyst, but he couldn't tell because I was currently at that time on my menstrual, and he was really unsure. But I want you to keep that in mind, right? So around 2015, I start getting Bartholin cyst, and 2015 is when I meet my primary OB, who I still have today. Black women OB, love her down. She's the greatest. If you're in Minnesota and you want to know who she is, I will gladly share. But otherwise, good luck, friend. Anywho, so we meet at that time, and I have been going to the emergency room to have my Bartholin cyst drained. And it wasn't until like 2016 where, because they weren't like consistent, they were inconsistent. They were consistently inconsistent. So that's why come 2016, even though I still have this woman OB now, we're not really talking about it because it randomly chooses to pop up. But either way, it popped up, I believe, 2 more times in 2016, because you have to have a Bartholin cyst pop up 3 times before you can have surgery done. So March 2017, I have a marsupialization, and from what I understand about a marsupialization, it's not the full taking of the gland, but like it's like past drainage but not taking of the gland. Medical people, y'all know what I'm talking about. I was like, okay girl, whatever stops this thing from popping up. Which but I understand marsupializations are a 50-50% chance it will return. Okay, now I'm giving y'all all that history because it's really important. So in that same year, so March 2017, right, girl, I had a marsupialization in March. This was also around the time that Chipotle had all that stuff going on, and so I had went to a like work outing. There was Chipotle, whatever. The next morning I woke up super duper sick and having that same sharp pain in my lower right quadrant. Girl, when I tell you, it was atrocious. I go to the doctor, I end up in the ER. This is May 2017. I end up having acute appendicitis, so I get an appendectomy, which is crazy because it was the weekend that I was graduating from college and Chance was in Minneapolis. So I sold my tickets. I'm a true Capricorn. So I sold my tickets from my bed. I had my surgery at 1 a.m. I slept all through the day. The next morning, after my surgery, I got up, I went to my graduation. Cause who not going to that graduation? Me. I'm going. I worked too hard for my bachelor's. I'm going. Okay? So the pain in my lower right quadrant, though, it had subsided for like a little bit of time. But that thing, one thing she did, she popped right back up. She was like, well, try again. Okay? So I'm going to fast forward all the way to summer 2021. I'm having the time of my life. You hear me? Granted, I'm actually depressed. I'm actually in a grieving state. I'm actually going through grief. I've had to let go of a relationship that wasn't working. Two of them, actually. But one that at the time, it just was like, this is too much, right? I've had to let go of friends, and my father died the summer before. So summer 2020, you know, that's not the reason he died, but it might as well been. So, you know, I'm in a grieving stage. I'm gonna be outside stage. I'm in a, if I make a check, I spent it and I'm gonna get it right back stage. I'm dating, I'm saying no, I'm being unbothered, I'm hopping on flights, not catching feelings. Okay? Well, I meet a girl. Of course I do. I meet a girl, but what I really adored about this person is that they made everything from scratch. They made their sauces from scratch. They made their food. I mean, everything. And at this time, I was like in this mindset of like, I gotta catch up to everybody else. So I moved out of state, which I'm grateful I did that. I'm very grateful that that version of me did that. Because that's where the grief started, baby. Once I finally sat down, because I couldn't go outside. Like, I mean, I could go outside, but I ain't know nobody like that. So I wasn't going outside. And I lived in Atlanta, so we would go to DeKalb Farmers Market. It was just a really great time. So my then partner had like a whole food type of diet. And I didn't know anything about that. In my household, in my upbringing, the most vegetable and fruit I seen consistently was a bell pepper, an onion, and some grapes. And that's it. Did we have fruit platters and stuff like that? Absolutely. But like what we actually really ate and everything, and like my mom was a pork chop queen with the butter. Yeah, it's a great time over here, you know? So being in this dynamic with this person, it was like, oh snap, like you like to make everything from scratch? This is crazy. Now here's the kicker. I start eating them vegetables, I start eating that fruit, and she was making everything from scratch. And she says she didn't, but I say she did. She also used soy in a lot of her food, and coconut aminos and all that stuff. And like, and chorizo, like soy chorizo and tofu. I'm like, okay, cool. I only ended up living in Atlanta about 7 months. I ended up, man, I gained about 20 pounds. And I remember I had took this picture, and I'm going to try to find it for y'all and show y'all. I took this picture of my face one day, and I was like, my face looks swollen. Like, why my face looks so swollen? And at the time, I was so tiny. And also, in that same probably moment, I had gained 20 pounds. And I just couldn't figure it out. Like, I was just like, how is this happening? Like, what's going on that's causing my body to react like this? But then, my period started getting shorter, which alarms started going off. One thing that wasn't like going off in my brain was the pain I had in the back of my legs. I used to have another ex who actually had sciatica, and whenever we would both get our periods at the same time, I would always be like, we're twinsies, okay? Because I have the same problems you have, and I am in the same amount of pain that you're in. And she would always be like, you don't want this pain, you shouldn't make that joke, da 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 da. And I would be like, girl, but I'm actually in pain. And it's so funny. Because if I could tell her anything today, it would be, I hope you're well. And not only was it bigger than sciatica, it's something that's gonna forever, ever be here. Okay? Anywho. So, I was so used to that pain and like having that shooting pain between my legs and in my thighs and the migraines and the like bloat. None of those things really like threw me for a loop. It was the weight gain, the face swelling, and the shortening of my periods. Like my periods had got to a point where they were coming every about 21 days. And I was like, that's not okay. That I knew wasn't okay. Around about February, I had this, like, at that time, atrocious, just horrible, debilitating period. And what made that period so much worse is that we were actually traveling. I had took my partner and our dog to, I had brought her to my home city, to my birthplace, because for my birthday, I'm a January Capricorn 111, woo woo. But for my birthday, I had came back in February to celebrate my birthday, but then also we had left from Minneapolis to LA. And in the midst, so we went from Atlanta to Minneapolis to LA and back. I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain. Oh my gosh. So what did I do? Made an appointment with my OB because girl fix it. Before I actually seen my OB, call me a hypochondriac if you want to, but I cross-reference my symptoms to whatever the common idea is. So after I had got done cross-referencing all of my symptoms, everybody kept coming back to endo. So when me and her had our conversation, she was like, oh yeah, I'm gonna give you a pre-diagnosis for endo because it sounds like you have endo. And as a person who had already spent so many years in and out of clinics because of what Depo did to my body and people not being able to name something or understand what's going on, it was like really relieving to have someone be like, oh yeah, this is what's going on with you, here's how we solve it. Or so I thought, because I didn't really understand what endometriosis was or what it meant. And I'm gonna try not to cry, but like truly I didn't understand what it meant or the magnitude of it. So I was like, cool, what do we do? And she was like, diet, acupuncture, physical therapy, get right into it. So I'm like, great, let's do it. So I start physical therapy, I do all that stuff, and I'm changing my diet. I end up having a conversation with 2 homegirls, and one of which has severe endometriosis, and shout out to her because she actually just had her first child. I have another friend who has PCOS and she has endometriosis, and she also too has severe endometriosis. And so we're at dinner one night and we're talking, and she's like, hey, you know, I'm gonna be honest with you. She tells me her story and she's like, I really think you should have a laparoscopy, because the reality is you can't get anything solved and you can't actually know what's actually going on inside of your body unless you give your doctor the permission to go inside of your body. And it's not like I wasn't giving my doctor permission to go inside of my body. Let me be very clear. I just, again, didn't know the language, didn't know that was an option. Because my doctor wasn't, we have good rapport and a good relationship. Like I just talked to her. That's not something she's not one that always wants to cut on somebody's body. And for me, there was never anything in my file except for one thing that was a reason to be like, let's cut her open and see if we can find endometriosis. So at this point, I'm like, all right, cool. We have a follow-up in April. I tell my OB all my current symptoms, all the thing that's going on. And she's pretty much like, things haven't changed. Now, here's the other thing. On my mama's side, there's been about 6-7 people with cancer. And my oldest brother died 4 days before his 36th birthday of colon cancer after having terminal cancer for 8 months after finding out he had a tumor on his colon for 8 years. So because of that, me and my sibling both have been getting colonoscopies every 2 years instead of, I think the standard is every 5, since 2015 now. Stuff like that really scares me because you think you feel fine. And this is also why when doctors ask me like, how do you feel? How do you feel? How do you feel? I'm like, that doesn't matter. Let's do the imaging. Let's do the blood work. Let's do the imaging. Let's get to it. How I feel doesn't matter. In my experience, I have truly found among my family members, one of my mama's sisters had open heart surgery. Felt fine. Yeah, don't ask me how I feel. How I feel don't matter. Not in that moment. I ended up telling my OB this, and so she's like, so you want to have the surgery? Like, don't be mad at me if I cut you open, and then, you know what I'm saying, it ain't nothing there. Like, don't be mad at me. And I'm like, girl, I ain't gonna be mad at you. Like, you know, let's just do it. So she's like, okay, cool. I have my pre-op. She tells me my surgery is only supposed to be about an hour and a half. We actually laughed that morning. I'll never forget it. And this is May 2022 now. And so she's like, all right, like, don't be mad at me. I'm gonna take all the pictures in the world, wooty wooty woo blah. And I'm like, girl, I don't care. Like, let's do it. It's 7 a.m. I think my surgery started at like 8. My surgery ended up ending around 11:30, 12. That should already tell you something. You remember how I mentioned before I had a sharp pain in my lower right quadrant that no one could figure out what it was? Well, I'll tell you what it was. Come to find out, pathology also agreed that I had 12 years worth of tissues that had built up inside of my pelvis, so much so my uterus was stuck to my pelvic floor. My tissues had ravished my right tube, leaving it hanging over into the lower right quadrant. Ravished. Could barely push anything through my right tube. I had black spots all over, because if you know what endo looks like, you know what endo looks like. And essentially, it was just Spider-Man, all up and through there. Okay? That is what was going on the first time in my body. We ended up also having conversations about, when I woke up, everyone was sad. My OB, I think, was the saddest, because she had took pictures of everything. And at that time, I ended up being stage 2. And she was sad. And it really didn't hit me yet, because at that time, I was like such in hustle mode. It was like, girl, just wrap me up so I can get back to work. And it hadn't hit me, and it didn't hit me until Mother's Day that year. And I just found myself crying, because we started having conversations about like freezing eggs. Do you want to have kids? Do you want to do birth control? Like, it just started becoming an overwhelming conversation quickly, that like it still took my brain a moment to like actually understand what was happening. Because I feel like I maybe thought, now that I have a name for the pain, we can get rid of it. And I didn't recognize that there are some things you literally don't get rid of. You just learn how to navigate in new ways. So that's summer 2022. The beauty about a laparoscopy, if it goes really well and your body responds really well, you don't have a period for about anywhere between 7 to 10 weeks. Some women, the women who get 10 weeks, shout out to y'all. But like, I only got 7, and it was great. It was great until it wasn't. Which brings me to the day at Trader Joe's, where I went to the bathroom and was in so much pain. I was in so much pain, and I didn't even know. And now I know. I call it a little twinge. When my period is present, not when it's coming, when it's present, I get a little twinge in my abdomen, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is gonna start today. I didn't know at that time. And that was the first period after my laparoscopy, and I tell you what, I didn't make it any better by eating white chicken chili. I never do that again, and haven't did it since. But I ended up being in the tub, ready to go to the ER. Had to take my oxy, had to take a muscle relaxer, because what is this? I ended up getting prescribed Orlissa. Orlissa is a endo specific birth control that has some really strong side effects. I ended up being on Orlissa literally only for 2 months because my body couldn't handle it. You talking about the joint pain, the headaches, the moodiness. It wasn't for me, friend. So I stopped that. But another thing also too that my OB had told me after my surgery, when I asked her what's the things we can do like right now, she had said something to the notion of cut out soy, gluten, dairy, and hormones in foods and things. The first 2 weeks after my surgery, all I ate was pomegranates, because I didn't, what the hell do you eat if it doesn't have soy, gluten, hormone, or dairy in it? What do you eat? What do you eat? Like, what do you, I just ate pomegranates. And it's 4:44, y'all. Look. But then also the mental stuff really started to kick up and kick in, because I'm starting to realize, oh, this is not actually going away. Like, this is what it's going to be for the rest of the time. And then that same year, it was time for me to have my next colonoscopy, to which that doctor ended up diagnosing me with IBS and noting that my IBS is triggered and more aggressive during my menstrual. And I don't know about you, but I have the type of body, if I catch one thing, I got to. So it wasn't surprising, but again, IBS was another thing that I didn't really understand, that I really started to understood real quick. That's all of my 2022. Going into 2023, it's the random spasms throughout my abdomen that start to get really kind of crazy, which now I guess I kind of know where those are coming from because of the last surgery. Fast forward to 2024, I'm having another conversation with my OB. This is March of last year. I'm telling her everything that's going on. She like, it don't really sound much has changed. Like, you get this temporary relief, and that's not how laparoscopy is supposed to work, babe. And I'm like, well, you know, here we are. Like, I'm navigating. She's like, yeah, I think you need to have another laparoscopy, and this time with an endometriosis specialist. So I say, okay, cool. So I ended up talking to that endometriosis specialist. So I called them OB surgeon. And he's like, okay, cool, let's get everything scheduled. It looks like you're a really good candidate. Here's these issues, here's these problems. Because it was becoming really hard for me to like use the bathroom. And so I'm like, okay, cool, great. Like, this is wonderful. We schedule a surgery for June 13th. So I'm like, all right, I'm finna spend my summer healing. That's cool. Like, mentally, you have to prepare yourself. Mentally to do this, to be in this, you have to constantly ground yourself, pace yourself, be with yourself. Acupuncture is amazing for that, because I think the thing that really brought me closer to my body was, one, finally being able to grieve, and having acupuncture and therapy. I'll get to the other stuff at the end. I'm like, okay, cool. So my pre-op day turns into pre-op week, because for this OB surgeon, he's like, I need images. I like to, you know, dot my I's and cross my T's. I need images before we even start. So I'm like, okay, cool. So I have my regular pre-op with my primary. Then I have to see a cardiologist. Then I end up, I think there was one more thing I had to do. And then from there, I finally meet in person my OB surgeon. I'm like, yeah, doc, let's do it. Like, it's time to go, right? That man looked at me and said, you need to have surgery. Yeah, that's what I'm here for. That's what we're going to do. He was like, no, we're not. We're not doing that surgery June 13th. I got your MRI scans back. Do you know what's going on in your body? Well, no, I don't. Mind you, it took him an hour to come into our appointment. I think our appointment was like at 12. He didn't come in until like 12:45, 12:50. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, hey, so, you know, in all seriousness, you got these two like meatball size endometriosis nodules on the bottom of your colon. I don't touch that. I don't touch that. So, I think you're a sweet girl, and I think you deserve a real fighting chance at like fertility and a good healthy life. I think we actually need to proceed with you having multiple surgeries that day. And I'm like, wait, whoa, what is this going on? And so he gets to explaining everything to me. And also the fact that those Bartholin cysts, yeah, now I got two of them, both sides. I'm really giving y'all my business, but I'm really hopeful that this like actually helps someone else, because it'd be mind-blowing to me. Like, what? I wish somebody would have really would have told me what I was getting myself into. Like, I really did not know. He and I have this conversation, and he's like, yeah, it's actually a lot worse than we thought. Like, we need to sit down and really make a plan for you. So I'm like, okay, cool. I ended up meeting my colon surgeon, because I also had to have a colon excision at this point. Instead of having one surgery, I'm going to be having 3-4. One, you know, we have this conversation that feels very much like this is going to be a very extensive surgery, and you should probably have your stuff in alignment. Whatever you have to have in alignment, have that in alignment. Okay, cool. I'm going to save y'all all the drama, because this conversation is strictly about my endometriosis. But boy, the drama, which is why you really need healthy environments when you have such a chronic illness as this, because it's already mentally a toll. You do not then need the drama. Okay? So, my surgery gets postponed to October because my colon surgeon and my OB surgeon, that's when their schedules matched up. My colon surgeon actually needed for me to do a colonoscopy the day before surgery. So prior to my surgery, I just want to put out there, by the time I got to my actual surgery, I hadn't eaten for about 5 days. It was just me and liquids. Okay? A girl was barely hanging on. In that surgery, I had stents put into my kidneys. I don't know the other thing, but I do know this. I had colon and I had a laparoscopy. My surgery was about 8 hours, if not a little bit more. It was done with me intubated and in reverse. A lot of gas, a lot of anesthesia. In that surgery, I lost, or what was removed, for better words, half of a rectum, foot of my colon. My vaginal rectal wall was already gone thanks to endometriosis. The tissues like ate through it. They just knocked that thing down. I'm not too sure, but from what my OB surgeon has explained to me and showed me, either a third or about a fourth of my vagina was removed, and I ended up having an ileostomy bag placed on my tummy for 10 weeks because on my colon I had 2 meatball sized endometriosis nodules, which he seen during the MRI. What he did not see was that there was a third endometriosis nodule on the back of my vagina when they separated it from my rectum. Y'all is really my business, and I really hope this helps somebody. I really do, because I'm really, or if you're a med student and you need a case study, use me, friend. And so I ended up having that ileostomy bag. Oh, and I got a staple put into the bottom of my colon because it's so, where the excision was so low. Which is also why I have half a rectum. But anywho, I ended up having an ileostomy bag And I'll try to show y'all the picture of what that looked like before. My colon surgeon had already kind of confirmed with me that she wasn't sure what was going to happen until she opened me up. She didn't know if she was going to be removing the whole colon, a little bit of the colon, maybe just removing the endometriosis, if I was going to have a bag, if I wasn't going to have a bag. Having a stoma, quite interesting, would I do it again? I would, actually. I was very grateful because I never bloated on that thing. I never bloated at all. My tummy it was like, okay, cool. And you don't know you're using the bathroom. It was an interesting time. But also because of that surgery, learning how to sit back up again. All core muscles gone. Walking up steps, what? Couldn't. Walking up steps, core muscles, so getting in and out of the bed. Like, they was trying to help me in PT because I had PT while I was inpatient. Them folks, they tried, and I was like, baby, we gotta find another way to do this. Even the situation of like having a Foley bag put into that area added so much pressure. My colon surgeon had told my nurses, like, if she can walk to the bathroom, y'all can take it out. I fainted 3 times trying to walk to the bathroom because that's how much that thing hurt me and how much pressure I had. Like, man, I can never forget that whole entire experience because it was so much. Like, it was just so much for me. And even the situation, I'm gonna show y'all my stomach, but even the situation where like the nurses I had wasn't really sure about how to use the how to change the ileostomy bag. So like my first bag had been on for too long and it was filled with nothing but gas and anesthesia, and it leaked, causing me to have blisters. And I still have those blisters that are trying to heal up, man. Also too, I ended up having, from this surgery, I ended up having 7 excisions, or seven cuts on my tummy, in addition to the 5 I already had. So I have a total of 12 on my tummy altogether. It was a lot. It was a lot. I had to get an NG tube because there was a point where nothing was coming out of anywhere. Yeah, that was a lot. I kind of want to cry about that still. Like, I'm not sad about it. It's just so much to go through at such a young age. Like, I just turned 32. You understand? Just turned 32. It was a lot. And this is also why anyone who has endometriosis and you have severe endometriosis, and if I haven't already mentioned, my stage 2 turned into stage 4 in 2 years. Like, we tried the things, we did the things, and the things happened, and it's still stage 4. When I say everybody was trying to be so like understanding, even the ones who didn't understand, like my brother and best friend, everybody was trying, but it was just like, damn, like, this is really happening. And I hate when people call me strong, because I'm not choosing to be strong. I'm choosing to keep going, you know. But 10 weeks later, which I would tell anybody, if you end up having an ileostomy bag, or if you have an ileostomy bag, I used the company that my insurance covered was Handy Medical. Y'all, I have very sensitive skin, clearly. There are many options. You can get your stuff pre-cut. You can get sensitive skin barriers. Oh my gosh, it's so amazing. I ended up 10 weeks later having another surgery to remove my ileostomy, and that in itself was interesting because your stoma is like a small piece of intestine. So they literally just cut it off, and then no one told me I was gonna have a hole in my tummy and that it wouldn't be closed or stitched. It was just going to be packed, and that it needed to be the gauze needed to be changed every day. No one told me that. And that the human body would just close the hole on its own. I'm not going to show y'all a picture of the hole because it's very graphic. But wow. It did close. I'm going to show y'all what it looked like. But wow. Got that closed the last week of December 27th to be specific. And yeah, it's been a journey ever since. And then March 8th, on my brother's birthday, I had my first, and I hope last, bowel obstruction because I ate mangoes. And before you ask, Precious, why did you eat mangoes? Because when I went to go see my post-op colon surgeon, she said, Precious, you can go back. I gotta take these off. She said, Precious, you can go back to your regular diet. And I was like, all right, cool. Yes, I'm fixing my face right now. Because I was like, all right, cool. I can go back to my regular diet. Say less, lady. And that's what I tried to do. And I probably ate like eight mango slices. And that's what happened. And even that was an experience. Having spasm every 3 to 5 minutes, I felt like I was pregnant. I felt like I was contracting. Jesus. So that's been the journey so far. I did almost recently have another bowel obstruction. And I had to pray my way through that one, child. Because I was like, I do not want to go back. Because all they're going to do is NPO me. And if you don't know what that means, it just means it's the Latin version of nothing by mouth. And put me on fluids and keep me in bed. I don't want to do that. I don't want to do that. Okay? So, you know, I don't want to do that. I can do that at home. The last things I want to leave y'all with, because I know that was probably a lot. Let us inhale. Now, for the people who might be questioning, like, damn, I don't know if I have endometriosis or not. Please, 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 please look at them symptoms. Really line it up. Try to trace it back to as far as you can in your history of like the first time you had a really bad pain. For me, it was that lower right quadrant. If I would have known back then what I then found out in 2022, man. But who's to say what would have been different, right? So, if you can and you have an OB that loves you and you love them and y'all have a good rapport, ask them for that laparoscopy. If you can get it and it's available, get it. That's the only way you're going to really find out what's going on is through that laparoscopy, right? One thing that I haven't started that I know a lot of people really talk about is abdominal massages or wound work, so to speak. Also try that. I know have some friends who really do that. They really love it. It's amazing. Acupuncture and therapy, especially EMDR. One of my friends calls me like an ambassador for EMDR, but like, do it. Because, you know, you let spiritualists tell it and they will tell you that endometriosis is connected to suppressed emotions that you're not saying out loud, things you're not saying out loud, the child who feels the need to prove themselves. Like, it's a whole thing. Work that trauma out in your body and not in and through your body. Work it out of your body. You know what I mean? If you can. I really want that for you. I do. Next thing, hot baths. I wish I could show y'all my collection of Dr. Teal's, but Dr. Teal should absolutely sponsor me because, baby, I'm gonna be in the bath. I'm probably gonna get in the bathtub after I get done talking to y'all. I'll be in the bathtub. I like the bathtub. It's a cool space in there. Supplements. I actually might still have a code for this supplement. I'll put it at the bottom if I do. But my Happy Flow is a probiotic created by Nicole Kane. It is literally for better periods. If my code still works, it's 10% off. Baby, even if it don't, get it. It's one of the better supplements I've had for overall gut health as a woman. It's amazing. Okay? And also just have your other, daily vitamin. And I already told y'all, have as much of a drama-free environment as you can. Keep your stress level low. Keep it down. You don't want a lot of stress in that way. I promise you don't. For the people who don't know, endometriosis, to keep it simple, I told y'all I'm not an OB, is estrogen dominance causing excess tissue to grow outside the uterus and causing organs and things to submit on top of each other, again, like Spider-Man webs, like things just pulling together and sitting on top of each other. And also too, I will mention that if you have been ever diagnosed with PID, I have, you probably got lied to. I actually told my OB that, and she was like, you know what, when was the first time that happened to you? And I told her that. And I told her, like, I wasn't doing anything. And she was like, it's probably where that started. Which is why we can trace it back to about 2010. That's the first time that ever happened to me. So, child, I hope this video was informative. I hope you learned something. I hope you got something. Please, 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 please go. If you think you need to be on somebody's table getting cut open to make sure you do or don't got endometriosis, do it. I'm a person for surgery. Necessary surgeries especially, do it. Do it. Like, do it. There's no reason not to. There's no reason not to. Just do it. Go ahead and show y'all. Whew. Let's see. Okay. I'm gonna try not to flash y'all. Oh, and I have this cesarean incision type, but you can see from this side all the way over, and I do have that cesarean incision. Woo, all the way over, and you can see the blisters. And I just want to say, I'm not ashamed of my incisions. I will still be in a two-piece outside this summer. Okay? I really do hope this was informative, and I hope it helped somebody. You do not have to sit there and suffer because you are a girl and you are having a horrible menstrual. Menstruals aren't supposed to be debilitating. They are not. So please do yourself a favor and the folks around you, and go ahead and go to the doctor and get that surgery if you really want to. Okay? I wish you well. I wish you the best. I'll see y'all later. Bye.